Okay, good morning, all of you. Hello, everybody. Am I audible? Okay, okay. Fine. So before beginning, let me discuss with you one or two things. See, the material in form of handouts that is given to all of you is extract from all the best of the books. So from my end, no books are recommended. Okay. Now, because I got an opportunity to author a book with Sir Michael Eising, I just mentioned it, and some people asked for that book, so I gave that book. So my purpose is never been to discriminate between the students. If anyone has that feeling that I distinguish between offline and online class, better clear it off. It's very kiddish. It's very stupid. और इतना अगर शौक है बुक पढ़ने का तो जरूर खरीद के पढ़िए. ठीक है. किताब में पैसा खर्च करना वो इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, वो आप ही के काम आएगा. ठीक है. हमारा तो जो पॉकेट मनी होता तो हम लोग किताब में लगा देते थे. So it's not a bad investment. But in case you want to have access to that book, now it's not possible now that you come here and take the Xerox. Online students are far away, and it's not possible for any one of us that scan the entire book and send it to you. So understand the practical difficulty. Yesterday, somebody posted me a very derogatory, that there is favors being made to the online class, and we are at disadvantage. Okay. I know, sir, you are not biased, but this kind of, ऐसा सुनने में बहुत तकलीफ होता है. मेरे लिए कौन अलग है यार, जैसा आप लोग हो सब लोग एक जैसे. ठीक है. तो इतने साल पढ़ाने के बाद अगर ऐसा सुनने को मिले किसी बच्ची के मुंह से तो बहुत खराब लगता है. सो काइंडली अवॉइड सच कमेंट्स. मैंने आपको फोन नंबर दिया तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप कुछ भी लिख दें. ठीक है. सो आई वाज टोटली थॉरली डिस्टर्ब्ड यस्टरडे. दैट इज व्हाई आई assertively said that everybody should be present in the class. So people see the recording, they are not present in the class, they don't talk directly, and then ul message bhej dete. So anyways, this is the book of Michael Eising. What I'm doing, I want one person to volunteer. What you need to do, the content page. I am sending the photograph in the WhatsApp group of the content page, and you people just let me know which chapters, I'm talking about online students and offline students both, which chapters are you interested in getting, right? Now, exclusively those chapters, I will scan it and I will upload it in the e-learn platform. Will that be okay? Now, you might choose certain chapters which are not relevant at all for the syllabus. I will just eliminate those chapters. And whatever is best out of this book, that will be uploaded in the e-learn platform. So I think that will serve the purpose. Okay? So who will just click the photograph and post it in the group? Content photograph है? नहीं, उसको ग्रुप में भेजो. उसको ग्रुप में भेज दो. Okay. So I'm keeping this book. कोई इस किताब को अपने पास रख लो जो रोज आता है, जो मिस नहीं करता है. So you are supposed to carry this book every day. It's very heavy, too heavy for me to carry. Okay, so today we are going to deal with anxiety disorders. So yesterday we have seen that anxiety disorders are characterized by neurotic trend. That is a pervasive anxiety without substantiated by a reason, without substantiated by a threat. And neurotic paradox. The person who is facing the anxiety understands very well that his anxiety is irrational, but yet he is not able to control his fear. So these are two major characteristics that are common denominator of all the anxiety disorders. Earlier, anxiety disorders were known as what? Neurosis. ठीक है. मैं थोड़ा लार्ज फ्रेम में लेता हूं स्टूडेंट्स को. यस. So there are various types of anxiety disorders. but three major varieties. Three major varieties are as follows. You take this diagram and then we will continue. Thank you.
Sir, you're not audible.
Oh, we are talking about chronic variety, the first category, which is known as GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. Here, the normal level of anxiety should be this. But we find, irrespective of the changing situations, there is a higher level or raised level of anxiety pervasive, irrespective of the situation. So this person will be anxious all the time. He will be anxious in work situation, he will be anxious in family situation, he will be anxious with friends, he will be anxious all the time. Okay, so there is a free floating pervasive anxiety and generalized anxiety disorder. So chronic anxiety, no freedom from anxiety. Okay. The second category is bound variety. Here the person is normal. The person is normal in other situation, but he experiences unsurmountable anxiety in a specific situation, say S3. So for all practical purpose, he is normal. He is okay, just like me and you. But then when a specific situation comes, his anxiety increases too much, uncontrollable anxiety. So anxiety is bound to a specific situation. Here we have seen it is connected to say S3. Okay? This bound variety of anxiety is known as phobia. So patients of phobia experience anxiety attached to a specific situation and not all situations. The anxiety is bound to a specific situation. And the third category is panic disorder. It is called acute variety of anxiety disorder. Now, in this acute variety, anxiety can happen in any situation. It is not tied to any specific situation, but suddenly, without any rhyme or reason, the person may get highly anxious. Acute variety of anxiety disorder. It is panic disorder. Okay? So these are the three major varieties of anxiety disorder. Besides these three, there are two more anxiety disorder, namely obsessive compulsive disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder following a natural calamity or mishappening. Okay? So OCD and PTSD are two additional categories which do not belong to any of these three varieties. They are different in nature. So collectively, we have 5 anxiety disorders. Okay? So let's begin with GAD. Should I change the page? Okay. So generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. Now what happens in this disorder? Let us see. Free floating anxiety across all the situations. The person experiences free floating anxiety across all the situations. The person experiences free floating anxiety across all the situations. Stretching from work situation to family situation to social situations. Stretching from work situation to family situation to social situation. So there is persistent and pervasive anxiety in all situations. Okay. Now GAD has certain symptoms, and you don't need to mug up or remember the symptoms. You can experience yourself. You also face anxiety sometimes. So what are the conditions that you face, or what are the problems that you face when you face anxiety? Increased heartbeat, लिखिए, raised heartbeat, So whenever you are anxious or you are under stress, you will find your heartbeat is raised. Do you feel relaxed or restless? Restlessness. Sweating palms. Just remember what happens before the exam. Sweating palms in the exam hall. ठीक है? तो आपको बार बार रुमाल निकाल के पोंछना पड़ता है कि कॉपी गीला ना हो जाए. Sweating palms. Irritability or irritation. झुंझलाहट. fatigue, ठीक है? And whenever you feel anxiety, remember, you will have problems with your digestive system. So you can say gastrointestinal problems. Gastrointestinal problems. Now, GAD is present or prevalent in 4% of world population. GAD is prevalent among 4% of world population. Now, let us see the cause. The causes, etiology. So, first is biological cause. Malfunctioning of the limbic system. The biological cause may be malfunctioning of the limbic system. Malfunctioning of the limbic system. Now, limbic system is responsible for secretion of a hormone called GABA. Limbic system is responsible for secretion of a hormone called GABA, which stands for gamma amino butyric acid. So, limbic system that releases GABA, that is gamma amino butyric acid, which is a relaxant, So when GABA is produced in inadequate quantities, the person will experience higher levels of anxiety all the time. So GABA neutralizes your anxiety. It relaxes your mind. Okay? So malfunctioning of limbic system may lead to inadequate production of GABA, due to which anxiety is caused. Okay? So if you supply relaxant medicines, anti-anxiety drugs from outside source, the problem can be overcome. But any kind of drugs which is consumed externally will have a side effect. So long-term use of drug can have many side effects, and it can also lead to drug abuse. Okay? Okay. Then coming to behavioral cause. Second one is behavioral cause. Behavioral cause. Classical conditioning. Classical conditioning may lead to generalization of fear. Generalization of fear. If you remember the example of little Albert. Little Albert was made to fear white rabbits. अगर आपको याद हो. And later on, the fear of white rabbit got generalized to any white furry object, including the beards of his own grandfather. So, you may develop anxiety in one situation, and then because that situation gets repeated with some other situations, the anxiety gets generalized through classical conditioning. So that is the behavioral explanation. That is why behaviorists always believe that fear is nothing but faulty evaluation about reality. Faulty evaluation about reality. Another behaviorist whose name was Jenkins. Another behaviorist whose name was Jenkins found that GAD can develop due to neurotic transfer. GAD may develop due to neurotic transfer. Now let me explain you what is neurotic transfer. So the nuclear families especially, which are growing up these days, which are increasing in number these days, it is found that there are many nuclear families where there are no elderly people, like grandfather, grandmothers are missing. So the newly married couple who become parents for the first time are too anxious in handling their babies because they don't have any guardian to suggest them how to handle the baby. So they perceive the baby to be very vulnerable and fragile. And out of that perception, they try to take extra precaution in the way they hold the baby, the way they look at the baby, the way they react to the cries of the baby. For example, if there is a senior person who has nurtured many children in life, he will handle the baby easily. But the new parents, new couples, when they become parents, and if they don't have anybody to guide them, they would hold the baby very tightly. The grip with which they hold the baby is very tight. The way they look at the baby, especially when the baby is having stomach ache or say fever, as if तू तो गया, इस तरह का उसको लुक देते हैं. मतलब अच्छा, वो बच्चा क्या है, वो भाषा नहीं जानता, लेकिन नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन बच्चे को समझ में आता है. The way you look, eye contact, the facial expression, the way you hold, if you hold me tight, that means something is scary. Okay? So this anxiety of the newly made parents gets transferred to the child at a very nascent stage. And this makes the child look around the world with the perception that world is very dangerous. So these kind of people will grow up with the belief that world is too dangerous, I am very vulnerable, I am very fragile, I can die anytime. And if this is the thought that is guiding your perception all the time, then you will feel anxious across all the situations. So very potent and plausible explanation, neurotic transfer. और यही अहमियत होती है बड़े बुजुर्गों के घर में. I remember my father, whenever he would see a newborn baby, he knew how to hold the baby in just one hand. ऐसे उठा लेते थे पापा मेरे और ऐसे खेलते थे. ठीक है, वो दो हाथ भी नहीं लगाना है, एक हाथ से बच्चे को ऐसा करना, ऐसा करना. ठीक है, वो एग्जैक्टली कहां पे पकड़ना है पता है. ठीक है, लेकिन वही हम लोग, जब मैं फर्स्ट टाइम फादर बना तो मुझे बहुत डर लगता था कहीं गिर ना जाए, कुछ हो ना जाए ज्यादा. So my mother, she would take my daughter and पैर के बीच में रख के ये तेल ऐसे वैसे पैर ऐसा घुमा. मैंने कहा चोट लग जाएगा बच्चे को. बोले चुप रहो तुम, तुम्हें भी लगाया था मैंने. तो they are used to, because वो बहुत सारे बच्चों को वो लोग बड़े कर चुके हैं. Cognitive cause. Cognitive cause. ये और एक कमाल का एक्सप्लेनेशन है. According to cognitivist Mineta and Barlow. According to Mineta and Barlow have also authored a book on abnormal psychology. Whatever is there in the book, it is already there in the handout which you will be receiving. So no need to buy Mineta and Barlow. If you want to buy, I can give you the book, but again the controversy. ये 15 साल पहले माइकल आइजक ने मुझे बहुत परेशान किया था पियर्सन वालों की तरफ से अप्रोच करके कि इंडियन साइकोलॉजी का वर्जन निकालते हैं. अब 15 साल बाद देखो फिर से तकलीफ में डाल दिया. ठीक है. See, if you have any kind of problem amongst you, just straight away call me and talk to me. I have solution to all your problems. Don't worry. ठीक है. So both online offline. अगर आपको कहीं भी कोई भी प्रॉब्लम होता है, straight away call me. आपस में लड़ के फिर मुझे मैसेज मत करना. ठीक है. आपस में लड़ लिया सब लोग, उसके बाद मेरे पास कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं बच्चों की तरह, वो मत करो. Because I have not recommended any book. Because अगर बुक ही पढ़वाना होता तो मैं आपको क्लास में क्यों बुलाता. Okay. So according to Minack and Barlow, in the past, the client may have gone through some traumatic experience. In the past, the client may have gone through some traumatic experience in which the client may have felt helpless and lack of control. In which the client may have felt helpless and lack of control or loss of control over the situation. ठीक है. This helplessness and loss of control develops into a schema. The feeling of helplessness and loss of control develops in form of schema and gets registered in the memory. This helplessness and loss of control develops in form of a schema and gets registered in the memory. ठीक है. Now, when the person meets with a stressful situation in the present context, when the client meets a stressful situation in the present context, a problem situation in the present context, the prior schema of helplessness may get reactivated. The prior schema of helplessness may get reactivated, leading to the feeling of helplessness and loss of control. Leading to the feeling of helplessness and loss of control. Now, I will give you a good example. Suppose you visited your friend's house for the first time, your college friend. He invited you in his home, you went to his home. Now, you did not know that he has a dog, and the dog is left open. Okay? And there was no signboard written, be aware of dogs. So you just opened the gate and you went inside. The moment you went inside, the large bulldog jumped at you. You tried your level best to escape, but you could not. Ultimately, you got bitten by the dog. Now, that terrible and horrible experience got registered in form of schemas that there are some situations in life in which I lose total control and I'm totally helpless. तो ऐसा हो सकता है कई बार मेरे जीवन में कि मैं बिल्कुल हेल्पलेस हो जाऊं और मेरे हाथ में कुछ ना रहे. ठीक है. अब ये स्कीमा बैठ गया मेमोरी में. Now, let there be a slightest of problem in your later life. That schema will get reactivated. You cannot do anything. You are totally helpless. अब तो तू गया. ठीक है. तू तो गया. ठीक है. Anything. मैं तो एक एग्जांपल दे रहा था आपको. डॉग का मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा था. No. That event will not be registered. That helplessness will be registered in form of schema. So whatever event happens, for example, I'll tell you, I am driving since I was at the age of 12. Now, we had an ambassador car, and generally when whole family would travel, my father would want me to drive because Whole family had great trust in my driving abilities. So it was an ambassador car, you know, wo lattu gear, hand gear. And we were traveling in Chota Nagpur Plateau. It was a hill. It was a घाटी, चुटू पालू घाटी कहते हैं उसको. तो गाड़ी इंक्लाइन पे थी, ठीक है, गाड़ी इंक्लाइन पे थी और नहीं फिर रिक्लाइन पे जब आई तो सडनली द ब्रेक्स गॉट फेल्ड. नाउ द ब्रेकिंग सिस्टम वेर नॉट सो एडवांस्ड लाइक we have today. You have so many hand gears also to support. If the one brake is failed, you have alternate brakes, and generally it is not dependent totally upon the brake oil as such. There are many ways of stopping the vehicle. So what happened, the brakes failed and the car was in incline, and terrible experience. मतलब कैसे गाड़ी को रोका जाए, ठीक है. और I would not tell others that brake has failed because everybody will panic then. ठीक है, सामने गाय का झुंड आ रहा है, कैसे बचाया जाए, ठीक है. सो दैट वाज सच अ ट्रॉमा कि उस ट्रॉमा की वजह से मैं कई बार अपने आप को हेल्पलेस फील करता हूं कई सिचुएशंस में, ठीक है. आई रिमेंबर दैट इज ट्रेस्ड बैक टू दैट कंडीशन, बट आई फील हेल्पलेस मेनी टाइम्स. एक बार और हुआ था कि गाड़ी रुकी हुई थी और ब्रेक उसका फेल हो चुका था, मुझे पता नहीं, और गाड़ी पीछे रोल करने लगी, ठीक है. ब्रेक नहीं लग रहा है, गाड़ी पीछे रोल कर रही है, गाड़ी को रोकने का कोई उपाय नहीं, गाड़ी स्टार्ट भी नहीं है, और मैं पीछे देख करके गाड़ी कि कहां टिकाए इसे, ठीक है. फिर मेरे साथ एक आदमी था, मैंने बोला कि जल्दी से बाहर छलांग मारो, कोई पत्थर ईटा कुछ भी मिले पीछे चक्के में लगाओ, ठीक है. तो इस तरह से होता है. एनी काइंड ऑफ ट्रॉमेटिक इवेंट, दैट इवेंट विल बी फॉरगॉटन बट द एसोसिएटेड फीलिंग ऑफ हेल्पलेसनेस विल सिंक इन फॉर्म ऑफ अ स्कीमा. या हाँ 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 नहीं हाँ मुझे पता है, गियर चेंज करते रहो. उसको रोकने का तरीका है, नहीं न्यूट्रल नहीं, गियर पे लगाओ और गियर चेंज करते रहो, गाड़ी धीरे धीरे स्लो डाउन कर जाएगी. वैसे मैंने भी रोका था, लेकिन अगर हाई स्पीड में हो, घाटी का रास्ता हो, एंड उधर से भी दूसरी तरफ, अच्छा वन वे तो नहीं है ना, इट इज टू वे ट्रैफिक. अच्छा दूसरा कि गाय बकरी तो कभी भी आ जा रहे हैं, मतलब अभी की तरह सोफिस्टिकेटेड एक्सप्रेस हाईवेज नहीं थे उस वक्त, ठीक है. नाउ ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ GAD.
Sir, this disorder can be occur in any time of life, na? This
हाँ.
is not time specific, like the personality disorder that start early like that.
No. It will not have an early onset. It can happen anytime in life. Right. So treatment, very easy. Drug therapy में anti-anxiety drugs, साइड इफेक्ट में क्या है, chances of addiction, reduced mental alertness and sexuality. Reduced mental alertness and sexuality. Another therapy is called CBT. CBT will be found in all the disorders. CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Sir, anti-anxiety drug, and that is side effect is reduced mental alertness.
Because they are tranquilizers, na? They will relax you. They will make you sleepy, drowsy. तो mental alertness कम हो जाता है. So before the exam, a night before exam, some of the students take tranquilizers. Please don't take them. ठीक है? मुझे याद, in one of my attempts I took an anti-anxiety drug. You know, so during those days the chemists were not very particular about whether to give the drugs without any prescription or not. तो एक ड्रग्स आता था ट्राइका करके, ट्राइका या एल्प्राजोलम, वो खा लो तो काफी नींद आती है, कि नींद आ जाए रात में. नींद तो आई नहीं रात में, सुबह जब एग्जाम हॉल में गए तब नींद आने लगी.
And sir, one more thing, this starts the forgetting of nouns. Basically, if you take this kind of drug, like
हाँ, मेंटल अलर्ट से घटेगा तो मेमोरी को इफेक्ट होगा.
directly, it's affects the remembering the noun mainly, not the verbs, and mainly the noun.
हाँ, the noun, because nouns are something which are not verbal operands. ठीक है, noun is a name. Operands are such strongly learned that they are less likely to be forgotten. So in language and communication chapter, you will learn about verbal operands. Okay. So cognitive behavioral therapy. Let me give you a general description of CBT. What is this? Here there are two words, cognitive and behavioral. Behaviorist wanted to modify the behavior. So behaviorists did not saw any kind of mental disorders as problem of mind. They saw it problem of behavior. So what is going inside the mind, they are least concerned. They are only interested in modifying the maladaptive behavior. That is behavioral approach. So what is causing distress to the person and the others? The behavior. If I can correct the behavior, if I can make him unlearn that undesirable behavior and make him learn the desirable behavior, the problem is solved. Cognitivist, on the other hand, believes that no behavior happens at random all at once. The behavior is first planned and cooked up in mind, and then it is executed in action. So if the mental processing can be changed, the behavior automatically gets modified. And double benefit is cognitive behavioral therapy. Here, we will not only work upon the behavior, we will also work upon the cognitions, the mind. So very effective system of therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT attempts to restructure the faulty cognitions and schemas. CBT attempts to restructure the faulty cognition and schema by helping the client identify. So CBT attempts to restructure the faulty cognitions and schemas by helping the client identify the irrational fears or irrationality of the fear. Irrational fears or irrationality of the fear. This is one. On the behavioral front, the client is given training for relaxation. For example, Jacobson relaxation training. Jacobson relaxation training. This is the most popular method of relaxation training. It is nothing, it is taken from yoga. So what is done? The person will lie down like a dead body. Savasana mein let jayega. And then the person will imagine and feel his body parts from feet to head. Now, without moving the fingers of your feet, can you feel them? Try करो. हाँ होगा, थोड़ा सा ध्यान लगाओ, होगा. Imagine blood is flowing through it. कुछ है, बिना मूव किए फील करो कुछ है. पैर के अंगूठे को फील करो, कर रहे हो? Now this will require too much of concentration and too much of relaxation. Now you feel your toes, you feel your knees, then you feel your waist, then you feel your belly, then you feel your heart without actually moving them. Then you feel your neck and then head, and again from head to toe. As you do it progressively with deep breathing and relaxation, your anxiety will come down automatically without any medication. Without any medication. ठीक है? आप कर सकते हैं. ऐसा कुछ नहीं. एक्स्ट्रा सेंसरी परसेप्शन में लोग कर गुजरते हैं. पता है कि नहीं आपको?
Sir,
एक आदमी का हाथ कट गया. जिस हाथ से वो बहुत काम करता था, हाथ कट गया. अब वो अपने कटे हुए हाथ से चीजों को उठा लेता है बिना छुए. आप इमेजिन तो करो. That is called virtual hands. Now, Psychology or parapsychology doesn't have an answer how it happens, but it happens because of power of mind. 98% of the brain is unused. We do not know the enormous power it has. Yeah. क्या बोल रहे थे पार्था?
Sir, during meditation, we also do such kind of things like feeling the every parts of the body and then top down and up. But actually, sir, sometimes if there is some noise or distracted, then we cannot able to do that.
हाँ, तो अगर कोई नाक में आपका कोई ऐसे उंगली करेगा तो आप कैसे
नहीं,
करेंगे?
ऐसे नहीं, बाहर से कोई साउंड आया तो नहीं होगा सर.
हाँ, तो बाहर से साउंड क्यों आएगा? साइलेंट जोन में जाके करिए. ओके. अरे सिंपल है, आदमी सोने से पहले भी कमरे की बत्तियां बुझा देता है, टीवी ऑफ कर देता है, आवाज कम करने बोलता है, तो सिंपल कॉमन सेंस. या हाँ, वी जनरली डोंट. एंड वी जैसे कोई दबाया तो फील होता है, लेकिन कोई नहीं दबाया तो भी क्या फील कर सकते हैं बिना मूव किए? यू कैन. इट रिक्वायर्स अ डीपर लेवल ऑफ कंसंट्रेशन.
कॉग्निटिव कॉज क्या लर्न्ड हेल्पलेसनेस से रिलेटेड है?
हाँ, वो भी है. दैट इज ऑल्सो कॉग्निटिव कॉज. लर्न्ड हेल्पलेसनेस, मार्टिन सालिजमैन. ओके. नाउ कमिंग टू फोबियाज. बाउंड वैरायटी एंजाइटी डिसऑर्डर, फोबियाज. फोबिया और फोबिक रिएक्शंस. Phobias or phobic reactions are defined as excessive fear and unsurmountable anxiety. Excessive fear and unsurmountable anxiety associated with a specific situation. Associated with a specific situation. The amount of fear experienced in phobia is disproportionately high as compared to the real threat involved in the situation. The amount of fear experienced or felt is disproportionately high as compared to what? To the real threat involved in the situation. Mostly the situations are harmless. Mostly the situations are harmless. For example, water can be dangerous if you do not know how to swim and you are drowning in ocean, sea, lake or river. So there is some threat involved in water. It can be a potential killer. But suppose you are feeling fear of water when you see a glass of water. तब तो ये disproportionate है. A glass of water cannot be a potential killer, as a ocean can be. चुल्लू भर पानी देख करके डर रहे हैं, तो फिर उसी चुल्लू भर पानी में डूब के मर जाना चाहिए. Now, types of phobias. Specific phobia. Specific phobias. मैं पेज चेंज करता हूं. Types. Specific phobias. They're associated with specific objects. Specific phobias are associated with specific objects like pyrophobia. Pyrophobia. ये हो क्या गया बोर्ड को? Associated with fire. हेमेटोफोबिया associated with blood, ठीक है, हाइड्रोफोबिया associated with water, and zoophobia related to some animals. These are specific phobias. ठीक है. How many of you have zoophobia? कुछ लोगों को होता है, छिपकली से बहुत डर लगता है, ठीक है. कुछ को सांपों से डर लगता है बहुत ज्यादा, डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली हाई फियर, इवन फोटो देख के डर जाएंगे इस तरह से, ठीक है. हेमेटोफोबिया मुझे याद आ रहा है. I remember when I was in college, I used to be a frequent blood donor in the Lions Club and Rotary Club. तो मैं जाता था, जब भी किसी को जरूरत पड़ती थी मैं जाता था. In fact, I was a football player, so every 90 days I used to donate my blood. होता क्या है कि it takes 90 days for formation of new blood. Now, the league matches required a lot of strength and energy. ठीक है, क्योंकि 90 मिनट का मैच होता है, आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली भागना है. तो जब फ्रेश ब्लड बनता था ना, तो स्टेमिना बढ़ जाता था. तो मैं जानबूझ के अपने निजी स्वार्थ के लिए ब्लड डोनेट करता था. नाउ आई हैड अ फ्रेंड, he was very tall, Sardarji, very tall and well built body. He said, मैं भी चलेंगे, 80 भी चलेंगे, ठीक है. He was coming for the first time to donate blood and I thought that he can give one bucket of blood, man. ठीक है. तो जैसे ही वो लगाया पिन, और जैसे ही उसने अपना खून निकलते देखा, देखो ऐसा गिर गया, एकदम पूरा गिर गया. उतना जायंट आदमी, मैं और सिस्टर दोनों मिलके उसको संभाल रहे, ठीक है. भाई साहब, हमें डर लगा इसको खून न चढ़ाना पड़ जाए, जल्दी निकालो इसको, तुरंत ग्लूकोज, जो एक्चुअली वो देते हैं, ग्लूकोज बिस्किट देते हैं, एक मिठाई देते हैं, एक कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स का बॉटल देते हैं ब्लड डोनर को. तो मेरे लिए जितना आया था वो सब उसको खिलाना पड़ा, ठीक है, उसको होश में लाने के लिए. And he also was not aware that he has that hematophobia. उसी दिन उसे पता चला. Situational phobias. These are associated with certain specific situations, like acrophobia, fear of height, fear of height, ठीक है. Now height can be terrifying for anyone if you are moving too high, but suppose you climb one stair and then you are afraid. एक सीढ़ी, एक स्टेप चढ़ के अगर किसी को डर लग रहा है तो ये एक्रोफोबिया है, ठीक है. अच्छा, see, some people have great anxiety when the flight takes off. That's not acrophobia. Let me tell you. Take off के समय बहुत लोगों को डर लगता है, ठीक है. So I remember I was coming back from Mumbai and there was one mother and daughter. Her daughter was grown up, the mother was middle-aged, right? They were sitting next to me. I was in the aisle seat. So the mother was telling the daughter, don't be scared when the flight takes off. Don't worry. I'll tell you what to do. You need to take deep breath. And the daughter was telling her mother, you take care of yourself. Don't think of me. I will tell you what to do. Now, when the flight started taking off, both of them started shouting. And I said, what happened? And both of them are telling me, don't worry, don't worry, don't be afraid, we are there. मुंबई से जब फ्लाइट उड़ता है ना, तो वो हाई राइजिंग बिल्डिंग है ना, तो एक ही पैसेज है जहां से उड़ता है. तो उसको समुंदर के ऊपर से ऐसे टर्न लेना पड़ता है दिल्ली का ले आने के लिए। तो जो ऐसा टिल्ट मारता है ना वो समुंदर दिखाई देता है, तो जो खिड़की के साइड बैठा है उसको लगता है कि आप मैं गिरा। अगोराफोबिया, fear of open places like marketplace. Fear of open places like marketplace. ठीक है। अब सोचो अगर प्रधानमंत्री को अगोराफोबिया हो जाए तो क्या होगा? ऐसे ही उनके जान को खतरा है। यू नो, एनी टाइम पीएम इज अंडर सीरियस डेंजर इफ ही गोज टू ओपन प्लेस। एसपीजी का तो नींद हराम हो जाता है। यू नो, एसपीजी को पता चलना चाहिए 24 घंटा पहले कि पीएम टाइगर का मूवमेंट होने वाला है। टाइगर कहते हैं पीएम को, टाइगर का मूवमेंट होने वाला है कहीं पर, तब जाकर के वो उस जगह को सिक्योर करते हैं। और वो जो आपको पीएम के पीछे खड़े 4 लोग दिखते हैं ना काला चश्मा पहन के, वो आईपीएस होते हैं एंड दे आर ब्लैक कैट कमांडोज। और वो काला चश्मा स्टाइल मारने के लिए नहीं पहनते, इट इज फॉर सर्वेलेंस, ताकि कोई ना जान सके को देख किधर है। ठीक है। तो अगोराफोबिया अगर मान लो किसी पब्लिक फिगर को हो जाए जो कि पब्लिक के बीच में जाता है, देन हाउ टेरिबल इट कुड बी। थर्ड, क्लॉस्ट्रोफोबिया, fear of closed spaces, closed places like cave, elevator, claustrophobia. ठीक है। तो अगर कोई क्लॉस्ट्रोफोबिक है and if you want to kill that person you don't need to use any weapon, just lock them in a tiny room and leave them, they will die automatically. ठीक है, क्लॉस्ट्रोफोबिक है। And there are some social phobias. Fear of meeting people and socializing. There may be social phobia, that is fear of meeting people and socializing. And the fourth category is very dangerous, decidophobia, fear experienced while making a decision. Decision making involves choosing amongst the given alternatives. So they will feel extreme fear when they have to make a choice. So they will never be able to shop alone. शॉपिंग करने गए, 2-4 में से एक लेना है, बेहोश हो जाएंगे। ठीक है। मैंने एक बार देखा था, मीन्स इन माय स्टूडेंट लाइफ आई वेंट टू द रेलवे स्टेशन टू गेट टिकट, यू नो, फॉर पटना, and there was a person standing in front of me and he was looking for ticket in some preferred coach, शायद वो AC2 या इस तरह का कुछ मांग रहे थे। तो the counter person said that no, उसमें अवेलेबल नहीं है, इसमें दे दूं? बोली जल्दी, बोली पीछे और लोग खड़े हैं, दे दूं? वो गिर गया, बाप रे क्या बोल रहे हैं, यू नो, वो गिर गया एकदम डर के मारे। डिसाइडोफोबिया, तो डिसीजन मेकिंग के समय उनको बहुत एंजाइटी, बहुत टेंशन होता है। एंड स्पेशली यू नो व्हेन दीस पीपल गेट into arranged marriage, how to fix their arranged marriage, that becomes a very big problem because they have phobia for making decision. They would even deny to get married because they have to take a decision. So these are the several types of phobias. Now let us see the symptoms. Symptoms of phobia. Phobias are characterized by defense-oriented, avoidant behaviors. Defense-oriented, avoidant behaviors. So they will avoid the phobic condition, the phobic object, the phobic situation, just to escape the fear. ठीक है. Second, bodily symptoms, muscle tension, dizzy spells, चक्कर आना, giddiness लगना, headache, and GID, that is gastrointestinal disease. GID, which is gastrointestinal disease. Now, let us see the etiology. The causes. Psychoanalytical cause. Psychoanalytical cause. Freud believed that phobias are caused due to displacement of fear. Freud believed that phobias are caused due to displacement of fear. As a consequence of ego defense mechanism. Phobias are caused due to displacement of fear as a consequence of ego defense mechanism. Freud treated little Hans who had phobia for horses. Freud treated little Hans who had phobia for horses. So during Freud's time, automobiles were not quite common. The most common means of transportation was horse and chariot. Okay, so little Hans had phobia for horses. During hypnotic therapy, it was found that little Hans was afraid of his aggressive father and having seen horses or looking at horses reminded him of his father. Because horses are also very aggressive. They tend to dominate the rider. So unless the rider is more aggressive than the horse, he can't control the horse. ठीक है? तो वो जब भी घोड़ा देखता था, unconsciously उसके father का schema activate हो जाता था. And therefore he would be extremely scared of horses. Psychodynamic cause. Psychodynamic cause. Ego defense mechanism of reaction formation. Ego defense mechanism of reaction formation. Now you should understand here. What is reaction formation? Although you know it, I'm repeating it. Reaction formation is development of an entirely opposite thought or emotion in order to neutralize the originally disturbing emotion. I repeat. Reaction formation is the ego defense mechanism that leads to formation of entirely opposite emotion and thought that neutralizes the original disturbing emotion or thought. that counters the original disturbing emotion and thought. For example, Ram and Shyam have been childhood friends. They have grown up together. They have gone to the same school, to the same college, and one day they fall in love with the same girl. Now there is competition. Eventually, Shyam wins the race and he gets invitation. Ram gets invitation of their marriage. Now in his thoughts, he imagines killing Shyam with a knife. Okay, so he was in the kitchen, he was looking at the knife, and a thought came that I should kill Shyam with a knife. And then suddenly he realizes that Shyam is like his own brother. So he feels extremely guilty. To neutralize this guilt, he develops extreme love and compassion for whom? Shyam. And he sponsors the whole cost of the marriage. Reaction formation. So reaction formation is development of an entirely opposite emotion and thought in order to neutralize the original disturbing thought. Okay? In order to neutralize the original disturbing thought. So due to reaction formation, people may develop phobia for objects like knife, phobia for objects like knife और पिलो. मान लो इमेजिनेशन में है कि पिलो से दम घोट दिया तो पिलो से फोबिया हो जाएगा, एक्सेट्रा. Cameron, who is a psychoanalyst, Cameron found that, I'll write here, Cameron found that a man used to fear red sky that appears during evening. A man was afraid of red sky that appears during evening. During therapy, he revealed that he burned his whole family alive. During therapy, he revealed that he had burnt his whole family alive. So red sky reminded him of fire. Red sky reminded him of fire. Third, behaviorist explanation. And here, the best one comes from Maurer. Maurer, who has given two-factor theory. Now, there are so many two-factor theories in psychology, isn't it? So, Maurer has given two-factor theory to explain phobia. According to him, phobias are initiated by classical conditioning. Phobias are initiated by classical conditioning and are maintained by instrumental conditioning. Through negative reinforcement. Phobias are initiated by classical conditioning and they are maintained by instrumental conditioning through negative reinforcement. Let us see how. Now, I had a domestic help many years ago. I might have told this story. He was Dinesh. Okay. He was very innocent. So one day he went to Kamlanagar market just for time pass, and some people were chasing a thief who has stolen something from a shop. Now Kamlanagar market is a very crowded market, so public was chasing that thief. चोर चोर चिल्ला रहे थे और इसको पीछे से चोर चोर सुनाई दिया, इसको पता नहीं क्या हुआ, ये खुद दौड़ने लगा. He also started running and people misunderstood him as thief and he was caught and beaten badly. घर आके बहुत उदास, बोला भैया मुझे पीट दिया. मैंने कहा तुम भागा क्यों, तूने चोरी किया था? बोला नहीं. तुम भागा क्यों? Why did you run? लोगों को कंफ्यूजन हो गई. बोला आप तो मुझे नहीं मारेगा ना. बोला नहीं मारेगा, तुम जाओ, जाओ कमलानगर, कोई कुछ नहीं करेगा. नेक्स्ट, द वेरी नेक्स्ट डे ही अगेन वेंट टू कमलानगर एंड पीपल, लोकल शॉपकीपर्स रिकॉग्नाइज्ड हिम. अरे देखो चोर फिर आ गया, फिर उसको पकड़ के पीट दिया. अब 2 बार ऐसा घटना हो गया कमलानगर में. ठीक है. नाउ ही डेवलप्ड फियर ऑफ मार्केट प्लेस. So he would avoid going to market even when I am with him. And by avoiding, he would be able to prevent and escape from that fear. So it is negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement because it involves withdrawal of fear. So each time he avoids going to the market, he is not facing that intense fear. So it is negatively reinforcing. Negative reinforcement क्या होता है? When there is no reward given, there is simply withdrawal of pain or withdrawal of fear. So phobias will be initiated by classical conditioning. So both time he was beaten in the marketplace. So marketplace and fear got associated. Beating, these two events got associated, classical conditioning. And each time he avoids going to market, he is getting negative reinforcement. This will maintain his fear. Okay? Now coming to cognitive explanation. Cognitive explanation. Cognitivists believe that phobias may develop due to vicarious experience also. Phobias may develop due to vicarious experience also. For example, zoophobia may develop if somebody has witnessed killing of someone by animal. Somebody has experienced killing of someone by animal. Like in my society, the incidences of dog bite has increased too much, and dogs have bitten mostly women and children, but they do not mess up with men. Now, people who have not been bitten by the dog, they have started carrying stick along with themselves because of vicarious experience. जब उन्हें काट सकता है तो हमें भी काट सकता है. कुत्ते से डर लगने लगा है, जबकि इनको कुत्ते ने आज तक कुछ नहीं किया. ठीक है. कुत्ता क्या देखता है भाई, जो उससे डर रहा है उसी को डराएगा ना. वो उसको कैनाइन एंजाइटी कहते हैं. डॉग्स देमसेल्व्स आर वेरी एंशियस. ठीक है. जैसे कुत्ता गाड़ी के पीछे क्यों भागता है? बिकॉज इट हैज इनॉर्मस एनर्जी. इट्स वेरी प्लेफुल. They have lot of energy pent up, locked up inside them, so they get an opportunity, a stimulus that let me race up with this vehicle. They are not chasing you to bite you. कैनाइन एंजाइटी कहते हैं. अब उसी में अगर कोई डर रहा है, गिर रहा है, ऐसे से कर रहा है, तो यू आर गिविंग इन्विटेशन कि आप मुझे काट. ठीक है. सो वाइकेरियस रेनफोर्समेंट, लाइक सांप. सांप के काटने से नॉर्मली कोई मरता नहीं है. देयर आर फ्यू स्नेक्स व्हिच आर हैविंग सो स्ट्रॉन्ग वेनम दैट दे कैन कॉज डेथ. Mostly the death is caused by the fear and heart attack. And because of raised heartbeat, the venom circulates in the blood faster. ठीक है. तो सांप के काटने से आपने अगर किसी को मरते हुए देखा तो फिर आपको सांप के प्रति भयानक डर पैदा हो सकता है. ठीक है. So zoophobias generally can be developed through vicarious learning. Now treatment of phobia. Anti-anxiety drug, and you know the side effects, all common. Psychological treatment are important in this therapy. Psychological treatment are systematic desensitization, which I will teach you in therapy session, and implosion therapy. So basically both of them involves giving exposure to the fearful object. So if you are repeatedly exposed to the fearful object, the fear will lose its appeal and you will get systematically desensitized. Now, how this is done, there is an elaborate procedure. In systematic desensitization, exposure is given in imagination. In implosion therapy, the exposure is given directly, not in imagination. ठीक है? तो अगर आपको बार बार उस डर का सामना करने के लिए छोड़ दिया जाए, तो वो डर अपना अपील खो बैठता है. Systematic desensitization. And another is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It involves restructuring the faulty schemas by questioning the basis of fear. Restructuring of faulty schemas by questioning, challenging the faulty schemas. Justify your fear. How? Okay. So the person definitely cannot justify his or her fear. So that is phobia. Now, before going to panic disorder, I would like to discuss OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder. OCD. I just need 1 minute from you. Okay, audible? ठीक है. अच्छा, मैं एक और बात करना चाहता हूं that if you have anything from me, if you want anything from me, it's better that you call me in person on my phone. ठीक है? Because a lot of time and energy of yours will be wasted to write long posts. ठीक है? आप 6 बजे के बाद मुझे फोन कर सकते हैं. If I'm not present near the phone, I will call you back. You just drop a message in case I don't pick up the phone. ठीक है? Okay. Obsessive compulsive disorder. It's very, very common these days. And it is more common in females as compared to males. ठीक है? अभी इसी इंस्टीट्यूशन में होना हो तो 2% लोगों को OCD. Right now in this building there are 2% of people with OCD, and I can bet on that. ठीक है? It's the most common, I would say, दुकानदारी of clinical psychologist. आजकल क्लिनिकल साइकोलॉजिस्ट को और कोई काम नहीं, OCD से डील कर रहे हैं, उसी से उनका रोजी रोटी चल रहा है. ठीक है? Now, and it is quite distressing for the students because they can't focus on their study, and as the time passes by, their friends and colleagues are studying and they are not able to because of OCD, so it becomes very distressful. Okay. Now, it's a neurotic disorder. It involves occupation of mind or obsession of mind with an irresistible anxiety-provoking thoughts. It involves obsession or occupation of mind with an irresistible, obsessive thought. Anxiety-provoking thoughts. Irresistible because the person is not able to control that anxiety provoking thought. It is repeatedly entering, forcefully entering his mind, and it is preoccupying the mind. So all other thoughts are eliminated, and only this thought will sit in the mind, occupying the mind or consuming the mind wholly. In order to keep oneself distracted, in order to keep oneself distracted, in order to keep oneself distracted, the client engages in certain ritualistic behaviors. In order to keep oneself distracted, the client engages in certain ritualistic behaviors which are compelling or compulsive, however irrational, The ritualistic behaviors are not only time consuming, but also mundane and funny. The ritualistic behaviors are not only time consuming, but also mundane and funny. For example, checking the knob of the door if it is closed 11 times before going to bed. एक बार में तसल्ली नहीं हुआ, दो बार में भी तसल्ली नहीं हुआ, वो गिन के एकदम गिनेगा, एक बार, दो बार, तीन बार, 11 बार जब तक चेक नहीं किया दरवाजा बंद है या नहीं, तब तक सोने नहीं जाएंगे. आप सोचो, इतने देर में तो आधी रात निकल जाएगी. ठीक है, अगर आपका बड़ा घर है, आपको नीचे जाना है, आप सेकंड फ्लोर पे हो, तो 11 times you come down, come up, you know. So very funny and mundane behavior, and all these behaviors are happening in a very ritualistic way. That means rituals are followed stepwise. कोई भी आप बीच में छोड़ नहीं सकता. ठीक है? And they are compulsive. And why they are compulsive? Because one is trying to get freedom from that anxiety-provoking thought that is dominating the mind. This is OCD. ठीक है? When the ritualistic behavior begin to interfere with one's day-to-day life, when the ritualistic behavior begin to interfere in one's day-to-day life, the problem is diagnosed as OCD. The problem diagnosed is OCD. Now see, if somebody has developed contamination anxiety, suppose you shake hand. After shaking hand, they will wash their hands 21 times, thinking that if it is less by 21 times, then I will have germs in my hand. इस तरह का. ठीक है, और कितना खराब लगता है सामने वाले से हाथ मिला 1 मिनट. सामने वाला क्या सोचेगा? How the meaning? ठीक है. Now causes. Psychoanalytical cause. Psychoanalytical cause. According to Sigmund Freud, authoritarian parenting may lead to obsession for neatness and perfection. Authoritarian parenting may lead to obsession for neatness and what? Perfection. So cleanliness phobia or OCD. जैसे अगर किसी फीमेल को है, if some female has OCD, if somebody will touch her comb or her personal belongings like her cosmetic, if somebody even touches it, she will get the whole thing replaced. ठीक है, वो इतना टेंशन में आ जाएंगे. तो इन लोगों का चीजों को हाथ नहीं लगाना है, इन लोगों के किसी भी चीज से दूर रहना है, ये घर वालों को भी बता दिया जाता है. गलती से भी अगर आपने छू दिया, अगर आपने इनका टॉवल यूज कर लिया, तब तो गए आप. ठीक है. Now, according to Freud, OCD may also develop due to excessive moral anxiety. Excessive moral anxiety. So you went to a temple and you are facing the god or idol, and suddenly an erotic thought ran across your mind. You felt so guilty that in the middle of the night you woke up, you bathed with chilled water, and now you are rolling to the temple. गुलाटी मार मार के टेंपल तक जा रहे हैं, कोई गाड़ी आएगा आपको कुचल के निकल देगा. ठीक है, क्या हुआ है विकास? नहीं. Ego defense mechanism of substitution can also be another cause, according to Freud. Ego defense mechanism of substitution. The ritualistic behavior become an easy substitution for anxiety provoking thoughts. The ritualistic behavior become easy substitution for anxiety provoking thoughts. Behaviorists explain ritualistic behaviors. Behaviorists explain ritualistic behaviors to be negatively reinforcing. Behaviorists explain ritualistic behavior to be negatively reinforcing as they keep away anxiety. Behaviorists explain ritualistic behavior as negatively reinforcing as they keep away anxiety and hence are learned thoroughly. Okay? Now treatment. There are only two types of treatment. First is drug therapy. When the episodes of OCD become very intense, drugs may be taken. But again, you have to write the side effects, they are common. And another is CBT. Now, what is the approach in CBT here? Client is encouraged by the therapist to accept the forbidden thoughts. The client is encouraged by the therapist to accept the forbidden thoughts by examining them with an adult mind or insight. By examining them with an adult mind or insight. ठीक है, तो ये तो मेंटल लेवल पे. और बिहेवियरल लेवल पे क्या करते हैं? द क्लाइंट इज trained to block the ritualistic behavior. The client is trained to block the ritualistic behavior and engage in normal activities through shaping. If you remember shaping is defined as successive approximation towards perfect behavior by means of selective reinforcement and punishment. Okay? So this is OCD. So I will conclude here today. Tomorrow we will continue with panic disorder and mood disorders. So tomorrow the whole class will be mostly devoted to mood disorder. And please, students, don't mind my words if I have been harsh with you. I'm sorry for that. But I love you all. Okay? And just call me in case you need me. Okay. Thank you.